Are you carrying a harvest of growth or a harvest of regret? The fields of your life will tell the story. A harvest comes whether we prepare for it or not. The question is, have you planted what you were expecting to gather? Every seed you planted this year has borne something, but what are you harvesting? We all plant with intention or neglect. It's that time of the year where we think of harvest. It's September. Welcome to fall. And September, this time of the year asks us, what have you sown and what are you reaping? Welcome to the new Ashla Podcast. My name is Justin, as you know. My boy Michael's over here somewhere on my screen. There he is.
Hey, fam.
So we wanted to do some September-y themed shows. And so far, so good. But I had to talk about reaping what we sow. Collecting what we've planted. And of course, we're not talking about actual crops unless you're a farmer. If you are, thank you. We like to eat. Eating is good. But for most of us, we're really talking about something else, aren't we?
Yeah, I think many of us spend our lives trying to keep blinders up to the fields that we have growing in the backyard. I know I've been guilty of it. You know, I'm attending to certain crops, making sure they're good, but I'm not looking at the rest of the fields. The weeds needing pulled or the soil that needs more moisture.
Right.
The symbology behind this is so powerful because I love how you phrased it. We will always reap what we sow, even if we neglected it. Even if we did it in haste, you know, it's whatever we plant, everything will sprout something.
Yeah.
From our choices
Because you're always planting. You're always planting something. And you're going to reap something. It may not be what you want. So I wanted to talk about that today and start to put things into perspective, because September may be a time of reaping, but it also is preparing us for the darker months ahead. And in those darker months ahead, that's when we have time to think about and plan our garden, plan our crops for next year, right? So the question is, you know, are we planting with intention or with neglect? That's really the question of the day here. So, and the axiom that ties into this episode today is good often comes in its own time. Do not spend trying to hurry it, for you will only waste time. Because really, harvest requires patience, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And what is ripe today was planted months ago, in moments long gone. So this is why we always say the future is always in motion, right? We plant things in the moments, in each moment to moment to moment, and then at some point later, we're going to reap what we planted. So
yeah. Well, man, I think that's one of the biggest issues people run into. You know, it's that instant gratification. That was me. It's like, I want to plant that seed, add the water, go to bed, wake up, and harvest that crop. And it's barely had time to take root, if that. And so many of us wander around having these advantageous goals without realizing the amount of commitment it takes to even get a sprout, let alone to harvest something that you can eat and put on your table and it'll last you through winter.
Right. Are we planting seeds of abundance? Or are we planting seeds of lack? Are we planting seeds of love? Or are we planting seeds of hate? Are we planting seeds of connection? Or are we planting seeds of disconnection? Everything can be planted and everything can be reaped later. It's the work we do in the earlier moments that set us up for later. So before we dive into this too much, I want to talk about something that we haven't really talked about on the show. I do teach through this podcast more covertly, right? We don't generally pull up the teachings and go through them. But today, I'm going to make an exception for today, because I want to make sure that everybody out there understands what we are about at our center, the center of all the teachings, the center of the temple that we're building, the teaching, or the center of everything that New Ashla, the seeds that we're planting for our harvest. Yeah? If I can follow that. We have 5 ethos that guide really every teaching, everything we do, every brick that we put in place to build temples and bridges. These things are at the center. The first one is love. Love is the first and the greatest of these. I want you to think of it like a flame that lights this path for all others. Because without love, the second ethos, which is truth, becomes a weapon. The third ethos, which is integrity, becomes cold. The fourth ethos, which is connection, becomes control. And even life itself is diminished. But with love, each is fulfilled. Each of these things shine in harmony. And love is important, Michael, because love is patient when the world is pushing and shoving and hurrying us along. Love is kind when the world is harsh to us. Love is gentle when the world demands hardness. It softens our hearts to see the better qualities of people, right? Love helps us see the world. Love helps us see those wounds beneath our anger and beneath others' angers. It helps us see the fear beneath the cruelty. It helps give humanity a face. It binds without chains. Love binds us without chains. It liberates us without demand. It heals us without judgment. Love is not a weakness, but it is the ultimate strength, for it endures beyond insult, it forgives beyond injury, and it builds what hatred cannot ever destroy. What do you think about love? I love you, man.
I love you too. I think love is the most powerful force in the world, but I will say love can also be corrupt. The love we are talking about, and the best way to know the difference, is it unconditional?
Unconditional love.
But love is the strength that holds people together. Love is the thing that drives purpose. Love is the thing that, even in our darkest days, helps us stay firm and eyes forward to the light.
Yeah.
Because love is the intrinsic power innate in all of us.
The next one is truth, the unveiled mirror. Truth is the second of these. It is a mirror that reveals what is. Always. It is the light that uncovers the shadow. It's the voice that speaks plainly. The compass that does not waver. It always points true, right? It's not shaped by our desires. It's not silenced by fear. It remains when illusions collapse, and what remains when lies crumble into dust. To live in truth is to reject distortion in words and deeds. It is to refuse deceit when deception is easy. To guard against self-deception even when falsehood comforts us. Truth may wound at times, but those wounds will heal. Falsehood may soothe, but its comfort destroys us, as we talk about all. The one who honors truth chooses clarity over confusion, authenticity over disguise, courage over cowardice. All things that we talk about a lot on this show.
When I think of truth, it's like a wound when it comes to, are we going to treat it? Are we going to deal with the pain of putting that alcohol on it and cleaning it up? Or are we going to just neglect it and let it fester? Truth has this ugly way, not truth, but what is the opposite of truth? You just said it.
Lies, deceit.
Deceit.
Falsehoods, yeah.
Deceit has a way of lingering. It has a way of following us around. And the more deceitful we are, including with our spouse, especially with ourselves, will it seep into every aspect of our lives, our minds, and our very souls. And I think that is why truth is so important and so powerful. Like you said, it'll hurt. Truth will hurt in the moment, but it will heal. But when you neglect the truth, it creates a ripple effect. And you will have all these other mistruths that start spreading from this one. And it erodes the soul.
It's a wound that has an infection, and you will never, ever be whole and healthy until that wound is cleaned of all the infection.
It'll slowly spread to the rest of the body. Yeah.
That's right. Integrity is the third, and integrity is the wholeness of our beings. It is to be undivided, the same in shadow as in light, the same in private as in public. Integrity is word aligned with our deeds. It's our promises aligned with our actions, and our heart aligned with truth. It is the root of trust, the ground of honor, the stone upon which all virtue stands. If you have no integrity, you cannot be virtuous, period. Without integrity, truth becomes betrayal, and love becomes hypocrisy, right? Without integrity, words are empty, and vows are broken. But with integrity, even weakness is made strong. The soul that stands whole cannot easily be corrupted. Now, integrity is not perfection. It's faithfulness. It's not flawlessness. It's honesty. It's not never falling down, but always rising again. So, integrity.
I think
super important.
I love how you say that love without integrity is hypocrisy, because there's so much truth to that. Integrity is so necessary in our lives because it's not just the integrity to do what's right, but it's the integrity to say, I'm not strong enough to handle this yet. It is the integrity to admit our shortcomings, to allow those in our lives to help carry our weights. It is the integrity to be authentically yourself, whatever that looks like, shortcomings and all, but as well as being truthful in your word, so that as you move forward in life, you don't have the weight of this mask, this burden that can weigh you down and hold you hostage from living your best life.
Yeah. Connection is the fourth. That's the bond that joins all life, all things. Every breath is shared. Every choice echoes. Every being is part of a greater whole. Connection is not a chain. It's a thread. Delicate, sure, but it's enduring. It's invisible yet unbreakable. So for us to cherish connection is to recognize that for me to harm another, or to harm myself, is to harm myself, I should say. And to honor another is to honor the light within them, and in honoring myself as well. Connection is family and fellowship, friendship and compassion, service and sacrifice. That's what connection is. It's the recognition that no one being stands alone, that no one life is without meaning. Connection teaches us humility because it reveals that we are sustained not just by ourselves alone, but by the gifts and sacrifices of countless others. People you've never met contribute to our well-being. It teaches us responsibility because for every act we take, good or bad, ripples out into the world beyond us and away from us. The one who cherishes connection sees the light in stranger and friend alike. They build bridges where others build walls. They sow peace where others sow division, and embrace diversity as the many colors of one light. Our nights, Michael, stand as a prism for the light, right?
Yeah.
A knight without connection becomes a tyrant. A master without connection becomes a recluse. But a knight who honors connection becomes a guardian of harmony. And a master who lives in it becomes a guide for all things connected to creation.
You know, I've brought it up in many shows. You listen to a lot of the greatest spiritual masters out there, yogis, any of them, and they demand connection is necessary for everyone, including them. We need connection. We need that mirroring. We need that ability to be ourselves and to grow, because it's through connection can we water each other and allow for each other to just rise up. You know, I mentioned as we were talking about integrity, how being vulnerable about what are our strengths, what are our weaknesses. With community, that's how you fill the gaps. You know, we can become better every day. And so many of us in this day and age try to be a jack of trades because we don't want to rely on anybody. But if we can specialize, if we can take our strengths and nurture them while helping others do the same, we can become that much more of a unified body that is more capable and more effective at tackling life's challenges and creating solutions that would never have been seen by either party.
Right.
Connection is the most, in my opinion, out of all these, they're all important, they're all vital, but connection is the most necessary to sustain the others. Because, like you said, a master without connection is in isolation. That is what we are seeing. And through community, through connection, can we truly flourish and get out of our heads? Because so many of us reside there, and that is the worst place to be more often than not.
And of course, the last one is respect for life, the sanctity of life. This is the crown of them all. Life is the vessel of light, the gift of a creator, the creator. It's the sacred, it's a sacred trust placed in each and every one of our care, right? To guard life is to honor all of creation, all of it, as it's all connected. To see in every creature a reflection of that eternal flame. It is to treat every life, great or small, not as expendable, but as sacred and deserving of respect. To revere life is not to cling to it selfishly, however, but to protect its dignity, nurture its flourishing, and defend its right to exist. It is to be a steward of creation, a protector of the innocent, defender of the weak. The sanctity of life demands courage because it calls us to stand up against destruction and violence, not just of others, but of ourselves too, right? But it demands humility because humility reminds us that all life is fragile and fleeting. It just comes in a flash, and it goes just as fast, right? And none of it truly belongs to us. No one owns life. It demands reverence because it reveals that in honoring life, we honor the source of life itself. And those who guard life, those who in their heart of hearts respect all life, they're more than just a warrior. They're a protector, or they're a healer. They're a servant of peace. A master who embodies this ethos becomes a living sanctuary where others may find safety or hope, renewal. Because when we ignore the sanctity of your life, that's when we fall into darkness. But to guard it is to walk as one with light. So I just want to say, before I move on from this and get us back into the show, I wanted to plant these seeds. But I also want to say that these 5 ethos, at the very core, the heart of everything we do, and they have been for many, many years, just never really talked about it out loud. They're woven and they're part of every teaching already. I just felt like we needed to call it out today. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, you can literally go through any episode we've made and you will find all of this interwoven within every episode.
Right. Every student I've ever taught will tell you that these are center to everything we do. But I want to point out that these things are not like laws. We don't write them on stone. These are written on the heart with light. Everlasting. This will last longer than stone. They are eternal. They are unchanging. Yet they unfold in the lives of those of us who live them. Always about this unfolding. Love is the flame, truth is the mirror, integrity the stone, connection the bond, and life is the sacred vessel. And together they form the compass of our luminary. The path of our temple, the covenant of all who walk in light, as far as I'm concerned. And whoever lives by these, they're not merely following a creed. They become the creed, a living testimony to all of these things, a living testimony to the light of the entire universe. So I just wanted to make sure that we were clear in what we believe in and why we believe in and what was the heart of everything we do. I believe that these things were embedded into the very light that created the entire universe, and through that process into us too. But we have free will, which we talked about before, and that could be for another day. But I just wanted to make sure that we were very clear about who we are.
Yeah.
And what we
well
do.
said.
So back to the topic today, or even what we saw. Go ahead.
We talk about a lot of this domestication and us coming back to the light. When we were infants born into this world, we were pure light. We would know what we needed. We'd be untainted by experiences and having to follow rules and guidelines. We were just beings. And I think at our core, we were these pillars. We were these tenets. We were the embodiment of all this without even knowing it.
So, of course, the agreement that ties into the topic of harvesting and reaping what we sow is patience. Because really, at the end of the day, true wisdom means knowing when to gather and when to wait. We've talked about it before where, you can plant something and if you keep digging it up to look and see if it's growing, you're just going to ruin it, right? So when to wait and when to actually and when to let things happen. But I'll remind you that patience is never passivity. It's just this trust in the natural rhythm of these things in our life. But as we said, the harvest is more than just a metaphor. It also mirrors the things we believe. Because every seed planted, even the bad ones, yield fruit that nourishes others in a good way or a bad way. That's why we should plant our seeds with compassion and try to be as kind as possible and try to have that unconditional love for people. And the harvest will not lie to you. You get exactly what you put in. No BS, no fudging it, If you grow bad carrots, you can't just spray paint them orange. They're still going to be bad, right? So the harvest in our lives never lies. It reveals exactly what we sown without any BS or distortion.
One thing I like to
go ahead.
Just that how you're bringing up when we have these negative emotions and we're planning, our unconscious minds have no understanding what is good or bad. And the more we feed these negative crops, these seeds of hate, these seeds of envy, of wrath, the more that will dye our personality. The crops we will harvest, we may not want to eat them. We'll realize, oh wow, that's a disgusting plate of food. Too late. You're already eating. You're already completely digesting that and becoming one with that food.
Right. Yeah.
Just had to throw that in there with that analogy because it's so beautiful. Because we often don't think about it. We have those few bitter moments. I got cut off. Oh, that was annoying. Got cut off again today. You start noticing it more and more, and you're feeding that energy. Next thing you know, you're pissed off every time you're driving. It's like, I don't get why I'm so angry right now.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is our invitation today, to take honest inventory of our lives, to gather what we've grown. We got to own it. It's that radical responsibility, right? To honor it with gratitude. We have to. Like you said, we gotta eat it. Once it's there, we got it. Once it's harvested, we gotta eat it. But also to prepare for what must be planted next. Yeah, I didn't harvest everything I wanted, but now is my time to start planning for what I want to plant later, right?
Yeah.
So, and the metaphor, just let me finish this real quick. The metaphor of the harvest is a powerful one, because it's not only a time of abundance when we think, well, we gather all our food and get ready for winter, right? But it's also a time for truth. And that truth is about what we've nurtured and what we've neglected. Go ahead.
Right. Just to add to the point you were making earlier about how, you got to have gratitude for what you sow, even if it's things like anger and hatred, because at the time of planting those seeds, that might have been exactly the emotions you needed to feel to survive a given situation.
Yeah.
And I've run into that myself, where it's like I had a lot of self-deprecation after having those kind of emotions, after finally getting out of a situation. And it's like, as much as I had so much negative emotions towards it, I realized those were the emotions that kept me safe. Those were the emotions that liberated me when I needed that liberation. And now I can make peace. I've eaten that food, I've digested. Now I can plant something better in its place.
Right. Because you've gained some resilience and you've gained some clarity. And if you can surrender to the truth of what you've done, then you can do better. Once we know better, we must do better, right? So this symbolism of the harvest. In the natural rhythm of the world, harvest is not only a season of abundance, as I said, it's also the season of clearing, right? We get to start building a clean slate. And the axiom that comes to mind, of course, is no one's beyond redemption. So you grew a bad crop this year. So you won't starve to death on the bad things that you did. You won't, it's not the end of the world. Because this isn't just about reaping what we've sown. It's about clearing away the weeds and the good stuff, right? We get to do it again. We get to try again. We get to plan for a better life in the next season. So yeah, crops are gathered, but the fields are emptied and the land is readied for the darker season ahead, right? Everything is going to start to slow down and it's going to start to kind of hibernate, go to sleep. But
I think of people in my life that struggle with addiction and stuff like that, how it's like, it's crazy how in life sometimes we have a beautiful harvest and we just get that random notion to try watering it with rat poison once, and how quick we can degenerate our harvest with all the work and love and care we took with it. And again, to what you're saying, we got to reap what we sow, but we also have the ability to see past, this is not me. I can be better. I can grow better. I can do better.
Right. Absolutely. That's exactly the point I'm making. Because spiritually, the same is true of this metaphor, of this symbolism of the harvest. Spiritually, we harvest, we gather the fruits of our actions, of our choices, of our habits, but we also, again, clear away what no longer serves us. So in our path, in our tradition, we talk about balance a lot and harmony, which is, the most, I won't say the most important piece, because it's just always happening in our background anyway. It's what the universe is doing. It's always seeking balance. And the better aligned we are to that, the less suffering we have, and the better things flow for us. So this harvest shows us that balance in action, right? And I'll give you a couple of things that you can chew on here for a second. Because too much striving exhausts the soil, right? Too much disturbances, it just almost makes the soil barren sometimes, it feels like. But too little care leaves the fields barren as hell, or full of weeds, or whatever, right? In our lives, growth comes from both effort and restraint. Got to have both. Got to find the balance between those two. From working with discipline, but also knowing when to rest.
Yeah.
We do a lot of talk about that. Some of us didn't do so well this year with knowing when to discipline and when to rest or release. And really, this just helps us understand that we have to surrender and trust the cycles of nature and trust in the flow of the universe. Because with or without us, this stuff's going to happen. It's just going to keep. This is a truth of the universe. Things are in cycles, right?
Yeah. Well, and when we enter these disharmonious times, these times where life becomes chaos, hardship falls upon us, it's we don't have a harvest that we've been productively building and we have nothing to fall back on. It makes life so much more difficult. And I'm not just talking finances, there's 5 areas of wealth and they all need nurturing care. You got connection, health, you have wealth in itself, making sure that you're financially not just spending all your money. You got to have that spiritual level where you commune with God as you know him, whether that's the universe or the force or whatever it is. And I can't quite remember what the fifth one is at the moment, but you have to nurture all these things in kind because these are your safety nets. These are the things that will support you in times where you're not at full capacity.
Yeah. Every single act of care, every moment of kindness, those are seeds that nourish life. When it's harvested, when it's time for harvest, it multiplies and it feeds others. But it also reflects our actions exactly as they were, right? The alignment of what we said we would do and what we actually did is revealed in what grows, right? So it takes us back to integrity and responsibility. And here's why I'll caution some people, myself included. If we just plant our fields with pretense and planning and not actually do the work, planting the stuff, the practice, your field will be barren. It'll be hopes and dreams. There will be nothing tangible for you to harvest.
It's scary how many people have that for a field too. It's all living in the moment without thinking about all the steps it takes. I mean, again, I was that guy where it's like, I have all these business ideas. I'm going to get going. And I start planting the seeds, start watering them. But then I'm pulling them out of the ground thinking, oh, they're ready to go. They're ready to go. I should be rich by now.
Yeah.
It's like, no, that's not how life works.
You didn't eat very well that year, did you?
No, I did not. I did have a nice amount of humble pie though.
Yeah? Oh, well, that's really good for you. That's full of nutrition.
Ain't it the truth?
So the harvest isn't about just what we've gained, okay? It's about what we've learned from that. And this kind of leads us into our next segment is, that reflection. What have we grown? Because this calls us to gather with gratitude, good or bad, and to gather, but also to clear with honesty and to prepare that soil again with reverence and respect, because it really calls us back to responsibility and to truth. And again, back to that sacred rhythm that all life shares. So what have you grown, right? That's the question. So gathering, harvesting without this period of reflection is just working for nothing, right? It's incomplete. It's not whole when you do that. Gathering the fruits of our labors does matter, but true wisdom comes when we pause and we ask what those fruits revealed to us. What are they, right? So I have a few questions for everyone. Which virtues or habits have I cultivated this year? And of course, this is from the lens of Ashla. What wisdom has hardship planted in me, as you were saying earlier, right? Because sometimes we plant those seeds that we needed at the time, and now we're just going to deal with them for a little bit. But which of those seeds never took root, and why? So, and as I always say, Michael, reflection is not about judgment. Do not judge yourselves over the answers to these things. Just look at them from the light of truth, and you'll get the most out of them, whether they were things you wanted or things you didn't want. It's all about clarity, not judgment.
I love how you said humble pie has nutrients, because there is nothing better than when you mess up, when you're able to eat that pie, you're able to reflect, this is what I did wrong. And again, not in judgment, just, hey, this is where my judgment was obscured. This is where I didn't put enough effort in. Here's a bad decision I made that totally derailed my life. And you can take these understandings and you can get ready for that next harvest. And all of a sudden, oh, wow, I know now how not to get weeds in my yard, or at least not those kind of weeds.
Yeah.
Because life is this pruning. I mean, when you say, Justin, this is something that is a lifelong cultivation. And it could be just learning from going from a crap garden that gives you nothing but humble pie to a decent garden to a great garden.
You can live on it. You might not like how it tastes, but it will sustain you until the time comes to plant new seeds, which, this is where the symbolism of the harvest leaves us, because we're always planting and growing and harvesting. So, as this axiom of light reminds us, those who muddle through life will never understand it. Knowledge, wisdom, and enlightenment come only from a disciplined and contemplative mind. A true harvest requires this reflection, not muddling, not mumbling under your breath. This is stupid. This tastes bad. Oh, stupid humble pie. Right?
Just get it over with.
Just get it over with. Just pour ketchup on it and just shove it down. Without this contemplation, we miss the whole point. We miss the meaning, because this is where we turn our experience and knowledge into wisdom. This is where wisdom is born, from eating the good stuff and eating the nasty stuff. This is where we build wisdom. So what agreement do you think fits here best in this segment?
Truth.
Well, truth is not one of our agreements. It's one of our ethos. Respect. I put respect in.
Okay, yeah.
Because after all this is said and done, and we're now at the dinner table eating the fruits of our labors, we have to have respect, because we have to honor our journey. The victories and the struggles. Even those imperfect harvests that we all have it, are sacred because they carry the lessons that shape tomorrow's planting and the next day's planting, and so on and so forth.
I love how you said respect was the big one here, because it is so easy to just toss that food in the background, deal with the consequences of your actions, and not learn a dang thing.
Yeah.
I have done it. I know plenty of people have done it. If you've done it, don't judge yourself for it.
Yeah.
But if you can give respect to these lessons, to these hard moments in life where we can either take the high road, or we can point the finger or blame it on something else in our lives that caused it. When we can eat that and give it the respect it deserves, of this is what your hard work, blood, sweat, and tears created,
or
whether
your
that was the lack thereof,
or your apathy too. Yeah.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Or your anger and hatred, or anything can contribute to the flavor palette of this pie.
To reflect is an act of love for ourselves, wouldn't you say? Because it does recognize the effort or an intention or lack thereof behind each of the things we plant in ourselves.
And if you feel like you're someone who muddles through life, most people feel that way. This day and age, purpose is so misconstrued and so lost on people. And it's not that they don't want to find it, but they don't know themselves well enough to go looking for it. So if this resonates with you, if you feel like you're eating that pie that has all that apathy and sort of just stagnation, that's normal, it's fine. But if you follow this path, you might be able to create a better harvest next year that gives you that much more of awareness to who you are, to what you want to build. You may realize you don't like pumpkins and you want to grow squashes. It's probably a bad correlation considering they're about the same thing, but you know what I mean.
We grow steaks. You're out of grow steaks.
Yeah, right.
It's important to reflect honestly with ourselves and to have that respect for ourselves, but also have that love for ourselves. Because if we don't do this honestly and truthfully, we start creating gaps in our progression, in our path. And when we do it with integrity, we align our inner acknowledgement. Yep, I did this to myself. Doesn't taste great, but you know what? This just emboldens me to be more careful about the things that I plant. And this kind of reflection grows us so that our impact on others is lessened in a bad way. We can't always help that, but our growth impacts our relationships, our communities, the world even. So, and there's one thing I want to point out. I think you said it, but every seed that we plant, whether it bore fruit or not, or bore things that we wanted, is sacred, because nothing is ever wasted in the cycle of creation. Nothing is wasted. You just may not like it. It may just have to suck it up for a minute, but nothing's wasted. Nothing's without its consequence, but those consequences can be turned into teachers. Right?
The most loving thing you can ever give yourself is truth.
So this reflection, this period of reflection, is not about punishing yourself for what you didn't accomplish or what didn't grow. It's about honoring the courage it took to plant the things that you planted with intention. The other things, as we've said, the wind blows in seeds. What can we say? Sometimes that happens, right? This period is about recognizing the fruit that did grow and that you were able to harvest, even if it's small, and offering gratitude for the lessons that we learned, both good and bad. Everything is a teacher if we want it to be, right? So let's talk about releasing what no longer. Let's clear this field. All right, man, I got what I got. Let's talk about how we clear it and make ready. So what are some ways that we can prepare ourselves to clear this away and to have a better start to the next planting?
I think the most important thing you can do is to honor the harvest you had, no matter what it looked like. Like we were talking about with truth and honesty and eating what you had. When you respect the harvest you had, it makes you have that much more respect for the next harvest you make. You get lessons out of it. You get new methods out of it. And above all, that harvest gave you what you needed if you allow it to. You know, I brought up earlier, I went through this hellish situation. I had so much anger and resentment that I planted in my garden, and it followed me for a good while. But I allowed myself to eat the harvest of that. That way I could respect what it gave me, what it taught me, and it allowed me to release it so that I could plant something new in instead. And that anger and resentment is gone. You know, forgiveness, one of the most important and powerful things that we can embody, and we're doing an episode on that here soon, gives us the ability to not just turn our backs on the past and move forward, but to learn from the past so that we may approach the future that much more ready and that much more wise.
Yeah, we must learn to let go and move forward with what we got. And to understand we have the power to do better, to do something different, right? Because if we don't clear our fields, we don't clear away the bitterness or the fear or the resentment or those worn out patterns that we get stuck in, they will, no matter what you grow with the most powerful and great intention, you'll find that it gets choked out. It can't grow well when these things are not cleared away. So there's two axioms here that help us understand this and point us in a better direction, I would say. Agonizing over a situation to resolution provides limited gain and comfort. The price you pay long-term for not letting go can be great.
This was one of those axioms I had like on my mirror.
You and I, we sweated, we bled, and we cried clearing your fields, didn't we?
Yeah.
But we
and
did.
Then some.
And then some. And then some. The other one.
It takes what it takes.
It takes what it takes. Do not compound matters by repeating mistakes. That's why this clearing is equally as important as harvesting. Once we know better, we must do better. Even if it's one little thing at a time. It will change your life exponentially. Just changing one thing. Not repeating one simple mistake will change your life in ways that you can't even imagine. Because really holding on to what no longer serves us is like letting weeds just run wild in your soil, right? Understanding why is it not growing anything except for weeds? You gotta clear them more.
When it takes the nutrients you could put on so many other things, when we don't let go, that costs us more than we could ever realize. Yes. How much bandwidth does it take? How much emotional strain does it take? How much joy are you robbed of not letting go of something?
Grace is the central agreement here to this segment, right? Because releasing what no longer serves us is not an act of anger or rejection. You might feel anger, and that's okay. That's fine. But you're not rejecting yourself, or you shouldn't be in this act of clearing, right? Having grace toward yourself, to stop carrying what never was yours to bear. Grace towards others, to let them walk their path without bitterness or chains, being chained to some idea, clinging to the weeds. These weeds are pretty, yeah, but they suck out the life of that soil. And when you pluck them, they take that with them. Better to chop them up and use them as compost, right?
Yeah, right.
Maybe, I'm taking this symbolism too far now. He's gone too far.
He's gone too far.
He's gone too far.
Bring it back, man.
So releasing is choosing love over bitterness. That's a choice. You're making a choice to not be bitter about the things you grew and to love yourself anyway. Compassion over resentment, right?
Yep.
And allowing yourself to see things clearly. Acknowledging what is dead and useless and not working for you anymore. What's toxic. And also seeing what's not growing. No matter how many times you plant it. Because maybe you're not in alignment. Maybe you're not resonating with the things that you want. We talked about that in the Wish It, Want It, Do It show, where we attract what we feel, not what we want, right? So aligning your inner heart with your outer choices, doing what you say you're going to do, not just planning, but then doing and aligning and resonating is important here. So, but really you got to make room for new things to grow. You got to make room for yourself to grow. It's like emptying our cup. You don't have to pour the whole thing out. Just make some room for something else, or grow your vessel. The only way to do that, though, is to continuously going through this process, growing and clearing. Because what you said it perfectly earlier, What serves us now may not continue to serve us later. So when that time comes, we must be willing to let it go, cut it out. And unfortunately, that's people sometimes, places, things, beliefs. Just do your best not to chain yourself to anything.
Be like water.
Be like water.
The more you can flow, the more you allow yourself to stop being so rigidly attached to different things, outlooks, opinions, and anything else in your life, the more you allow room for truth to come in. And the more you allow truth to come in, the more wisdom will grow within your garden. And there is no more powerful soil than that.
Yeah, well, you're right. Any closing thoughts for us today, Michael, on the topic of reaping what you sow?
I brought it up earlier, and I wish I could remember what the fifth one was, but there are 5 areas of wealth. I was listening to a podcast about this the other day, and I feel like I was supposed to hear it for this episode. If you don't know where to begin with your garden, evaluate these main areas, all right? Where are you at with your finances? Are you being frugal or are you being frivolous? You can look at your relationships. Am I nurturing my relationships, or do I kind of just isolate myself and don't like people? Where am I at with my health? Am I physically active? Am I exercising? Am I eating right? And it doesn't mean you have to be perfect in any of these areas, but how much are you working on this within your garden? And then spiritually, how much are you working with your higher power, whatever that may be? I know for me, that's where I release everything. I believe in divine connection. I believe that all things happen for a reason. Even if it might not be seen on my micro level, I know that it all intertwines. The more you engage with that, the more you expand. I have no other way to put it. And then again, I can't remember what the fifth one is, but dedicate yourself to these main areas. Watch what happens when you start to do this. And above all, when you're reaping what you sow, be honest with yourself, because that is how you will truly be able to start making change in your life and quit harvesting the same thing over and over again. I know so many people that are so sick of life, but they don't realize that they want a different life. They have to become different people. And that's a hard pill to swallow, but it's the truth.
It's the truth. It's the truth. And, we must push with integrity. Can't just plan. We got to do what we plan. We got to do what we say.
Yeah.
So the axiom of light that I will leave you guys with today: release what you think you know. For fixed ideals and a hardened mind are poison. Let go of judgment and remain open and accepting to all possibilities. Here's what the idea of the harvest teaches us. And it teaches us many things, if we're willing to accept it as a teacher. Patience, balance, reflection, release, gratitude. It asks us to look honestly at what we've sown, to celebrate what we have grown, and to clear what no longer serves us. The harvest is never the end, though. You had one bad season, it's not the end of the world, because it's not the end of it. If you allow it to be, it could be a doorway into the next season and the next thing that you start to plant. But to understand, the fields we tend today are the foundation for tomorrow. And the next day, and the next day. The choices that we release, the gratitude we practice, the seeds we prepare, all of these shape the soil of what comes next and what grows. The idea of the harvest is not about clinging to what was. It's about remaining open to what will be. A rigid mind tries to force the future into shape. And oftentimes, ironically, a rigid mind tries to force the future to look like something of the past, which serves us no purpose. But a heart that's aligned with light remains supple, willing to learn, willing to adapt, willing to embrace new possibilities that await in the next planting and the next one and the next one. And we got to have faith, Michael. We got to have faith. We have to trust in the unseen. We have to believe and have faith that the seeds planted in patience and love and truth will rise in their season. Faith will carry us through those darker months that are coming, or they may already be upon you. It reminds us that the soil is not empty, it's only resting, and that new life is always on its way. As the way of Ashla teaches us, endings are just new beginnings, over and over and over again. So, as we start to close down the show, I want to leave you with this reflection. The fields of your life are always speaking. There's always some signal, some messenger within. They tell the truth of what you have planted. They reveal the fruit of your discipline, your choices, and your care. Must balance these things. Harvesting is not just about gathering what was, but planning for what will be. With that, I'd like to share a prayer with you guys. Let us pray. Source of eternal truth, I open my heart to the season of harvest. I affirm that every seed I have planted has borne its fruit, some sweet, some bitter, but all carrying the lessons I was meant to learn. I affirm gratitude for the virtues that have grown strong in me, and I release with grace the weeds that no longer serve my soul. I affirm patience, knowing that good comes in its own time. I will not rush what is still ripening, nor cling to what has withered. I affirm responsibility, for the life I live is the garden I have tended. I affirm generosity, sharing my harvest with others so that the light multiplies and nourishes all. I am guided to see the bounty of this year's growth and next year's potential. I will walk into the next season with balance, clarity, and trust. May I carry the fruits of wisdom, compassion, and courage into the darker days ahead, knowing that the light within me cannot be diminished. This is my harvest, and with gratitude, I gather it now. And so it is.
And so it is.
Our affirmations for today. I trust in the timing of my life, for good comes in its own season. I honor the fruits of my labor with gratitude, and I release what no longer serves me with grace. I take responsibility for the seeds I plant, and I cultivate them with care and balance. I choose generosity, sharing my harvest so that light may nourish others. I walk forward with patience and courage, carrying the wisdom of this season into the next. And our journal prompts for today. You've been getting some love on your journal prompts. You noticed? Did you know that? Did you see that the other day?
I did not see that.
Yeah. I was like, what about my journal prompts? This isn't a competition. No, someone
You
was...
have to send me that. It's not,
Yeah.
but it really is.
Yeah. Head over to the Jedi Atlas group. That's where it was. You'll see it.
Okay.
Yeah. So a few journal prompts to kind of help solidify what we've been talking about today. First one, what seeds, those intentions, those habits, those relationships, plans, projects, whatever, did I plant earlier this year? And what fruits am I gathering now? What weeds have I grown in my heart this year? Could it be bitterness, fear, unhealthy patterns? I'm getting the finger here. This is Michael poking me. And how can I release them with grace? Who or what has helped nurture my growth this year? How can I express my gratitude to them? How can I embody the ethos, love, truth, integrity, connection, respect for life in the way I plant seeds for the future? All right, you ready for our exercise?
We got this. And hey, I'm grateful for you and how much you've helped me grow.
I love you, man. Appreciate that.
Love you too.
Student is the best teacher, so I, in turn, have learned from you and grown. So thank you.
Love you, man.
So our exercise for today, this is going to be our harvest table. Step one, we're going to gather the fruits. I want you to take out the journal that you use for all of my really good journal entries. And his too. His are all right. His too. And I want you to find a blank page on that journal and write my harvest at the top. Now, I want you to take your time with this. It could take several days. It's not a race. No hurry. But list the virtues, the habits, the relationships, and let's say lessons that have grown strong in you this year. And these can include courage, like, for example, having courage in a difficult situation, or patience in waiting for something, or compassion in service. Those are just a few examples. Now you're going to name the weeds. Step 2 is name the weeds. You're going to draw a line under that first list and write weeds. Now I want you to list the habits, the thoughts, or these patterns that no longer serve you. And just name a few: bitterness or fear or even perfectionism. Anything that sucks the life out of you, anything that drains you to no end. Be honest, but gentle with yourself. This is not about judgment. This is about clarity. It's about learning what makes you tick. It's about learning things about yourself that you need to be aware of, right? Step 3. You're going to consciously choose some things to replant. We don't plant in a day. Remember that. We don't plant in a day. But write down a few ideas. And this is on a new page. You had what you harvested. You had what you didn't like, the weeds. Now it's time to start fresh on a blank page. From your harvest, which fruits will you plant again? What things like, are you going to create stronger boundaries? Are you going to try to do daily gratitude? Whatever it is. Which of those are you going to consciously, purposely plant again? Think back from your weeds, and what things are you going to release and not carry forward into the next season? And even if it's one, just pick one. If that's all you can do, pick one. That is awesome. This isn't a competition or a race. So you're doing this for you. Only you are going to see it. Only you're going to have integrity and hold yourself accountable, right? So step 4, we're going to anchor this in light. You're going to read this affirmation aloud, or say it with me if you're listening and you're doing this. It's okay to come back to these exercises, which I strongly encourage you to do. Someday I'm going to make them a separate thing, and then you could just go to the exercises, and that's all there'll be. I like to make your lives easier, right? I try to anyway. So this is the affirmation that I want you to read aloud. I gather my harvest with gratitude. I release my weeds with grace, and I carry only light into the next season. Optional, one of Michael's favorite things to do, and Heather's, who's not here. I'm pointing at an empty chair. If this helps seal the deal for you, tear off the weeds page and burn it as a symbolic act of release. One time I was walking around a lake with Heather, and she just pulled this thing out of her pocket and lit it on fire in the middle of a park and threw it in the water. And everybody was staring at us. I'm like, what are you doing? And then she said, well, this is my list of this and this and this, and I'm releasing them. Okay, can we do it at the barbecue pit or something so we don't get arrested? Anyways.
You know, a pro tip to this exercise too. Just like with natural harvest, there are different types of cover crops and crops that can help nurture and repair the soil. All right? If you struggle in your weeds, if you have things like anger and resentment, then try to grow some kindness and some humility in your next harvest. You know, if you're struggling with isolation, let community be a crop you start trying to grow in your garden. And you might not grow it right the first batch, but you know what? The more you do it, the more you're going to learn that crop. And the more you learn that crop, the more you're going to grow within it. And so always try to balance out those weeds. You can usually, when you figure out what the weeds are, you can figure out what you need to grow to help you grow beyond them.
Well said. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
So thank you, Michael, for joining me today. I love
Always
these conversations. Every single time we have one of these conversations, it just gets better and better. I hope you guys are getting as much out of this as I am. So, and hopefully he's getting the same out of it too. We thank you guys so very much. We appreciate everything you do for us. We appreciate you listening. Please, if you find time, go hit up our socials, go hit up our webpage, leave us some comments, share our content with people you think would find it useful. And you can show us love that way. Doesn't cost you a penny, just a little bit of your time. So we thank you guys very much. And with gratitude and love, ad lucem.
Ad lucem.